Hi, Eric Linask here at the Javits Center in New York. We're here at Cloud Expo, and I'm talking with George Rautenberg. He's with Zimory. George, thanks for joining me.
My pleasure. Great to be here.
So, who's Zimory? What do you do?
Zimory is a German-based software company that was born in the cloud, if you will. We came out of Deutsche Telekom's T-Labs, the T-Systems based business, and the company spun out about 5 years ago, and we created Zimory, which is a cloud enablement software business. How we differentiate, and in a second I'll get to a major initiative that we're soon to announce in the next few weeks, but how we differentiate in the space is that we are truly neutral, open, heterogeneous. And if you look at the DNA of a carrier vis-a-vis an IT company, there's obvious differences in the approach or philosophy. So we've embraced that philosophy from our heritage and have created software that's a thin layer that cuts across data centers, and it basically allows them to interoperate, to move data, to move workloads, and to take the next step beyond virtualization into true cloud enablement at the enterprise level. We also target as partner service providers and hosters who are in those areas working customer bases, enterprise customer bases, and we provide elasticity for them. We provide the ability to kind of get out of their shell a little bit and to expand up into the cloud. Now based on that heritage, we are right on the shore of making an announcement in the next few weeks with one of the world's largest stock exchanges. And we're bringing to market a cloud exchange, which will be a commodities-like exchange whereby compute, storage, and eventually bandwidth will be traded like any commodity. The brokerage that we're working with, the stock exchange that we're working with, has pioneered other non-traditional markets, electricity being one of them, electric power. And in Europe, 60% or so of the electric power today is consumed or purchased on the exchange. So there's a natural consumer demand for this. And what we're in the business of doing is really kind of leapfrogging traditional IT consumption and providing a means whereby these kinds of services can be bought truly on demand in real time and go a step further as a financial services commodity. You can buy futures for storage, you can buy derivatives, you can, on a spot market, buy compute. And likewise, bandwidth is the next stage. So it's a fairly radical idea. It gets a lot of attention, and our announcements are very close to being made, and there'll be lots to talk about in more detail then.
With such an open concept around interoperability, how do you avoid at least perceptions of risk?
Okay. Well, one quick answer to that is our partner. That is, the stock exchange brings the credibility, the brand, and the liquidity to this space in terms of beginning to bet applications, which companies are beginning to do in the cloud. They're not necessarily putting their mission critical applications up there right away, certainly not in public clouds. But the nature of a marketplace where you have the financial strength behind you, number one. Number two, we're working with the leading standards bodies, knowing full well that for cloud to truly take life, standardization is, of course, necessary. So we're actively developing standards around the exchange, and it's just a natural step for us to assure standardization, security, and all the other things that our cloud inhibitors are all being dealt with.
Are we at a time in terms of adoption and understanding of cloud and the cloud technology where trust and security aren't an issue?
I wouldn't say they're not an issue. I would say, depending on the business, the anxiety or resistance kind of varies. If you're a born in the cloud company, I think you're a little less fearful or concerned. The PayPals of the world, the eBays of the world are pretty accustomed to this way of thinking, really. Kind of the open network, open communications thinking. Traditional IT, traditional companies, a lot less so, a lot more protective of their data, and natural inertia, consumer inertia is there in terms of it's been how many decades that we've been consuming IT services in this way. So it will be a sort of a phased adoption of this consumption model, but it's coming. And it's coming with the announcement in July. The early adopters are in place in terms of buyers and sellers, and will be going to market beyond the initial trials in both Europe and the United States in the first quarter of 2014. So Q1 next year, we'll be actively trading.
Very exciting indeed. Should cloud providers in general be have some concern over, you mentioned data privacy and who has access to that data, over the potential for government entities to have access to their data in the cloud?
Well, always a loaded question and a good question. Ironically, let's say, the government is an early adopter in cloud technology, as most of us know. And we're working through a major government procurement or SI partner or two in working with the government on the opportunities that they're pursuing, which are the cloud brokerage initiatives within defense, homeland, and GSA. So I kind of look at that and say, wow, if the government is getting more and more comfortable with their data going into the cloud, including the military, including homeland, we can take heart maybe and say, maybe there is a future here where we'll be as safe in the cloud as we are today in the walled up back office.
How did you come up with the concept for what you're now going to be coming out to market with?
Yeah, it's another great question. I think it really came out of the DNA of the company. That is, Zimory came out of T-Labs, T-Systems. The openness and interoperability allowed us to partner up with the stock exchange, and they selected us among the various options that are out there, and we are by no means the biggest, least well-branded perhaps. We are German-based, and there were plenty of options for them. But performance and scalability are monumentally important when you start shipping these kinds of amounts of data around. So they had to be assured that our software, which is really the linkage in the data centers, the Zimory layer will go into the data center and the various data centers that participate in the exchange. And we can then manage that with a management layer. But it's really the exchange that are doing the trading, and the two companies that do the buy and sell. If AT&T is selling server capacity and somebody else is buying it, a financial services company, they're the two parties that are doing the deal. Stock exchange is enabling the trade, and we are enabling the technology.
Does your partnership with the exchange mean that we should expect to see more financial services institutions and other perhaps more hesitant enterprises that, as far as going into the cloud, to start adopting more cloud services?
One would think, success draws a crowd, and a successful business model, especially one that's as transformational in its potential as this one, a market maker. Of course there'll be followers. We had a talk here yesterday where our CEO was presenting, and a gentleman in the audience asked, who is your competition? And another member of the audience, who seems to get what we're doing, said, chaos. So we kind of like that as a marketing tagline. We like to think we're up against chaos. But to your question, I tend to think there will be other players in this space, especially given the volume of potential. I think Gartner's got it at 20 or 30% of compute and storage will be truly in a commodity basis within a period of time. And they're following us very closely in terms of what it is we're doing. But in terms of other neutral exchanges, I suppose, yeah, why not? Why not? But I think it will be non-trivial for a financial institution to find the right technology and the right mentality to put together a neutral open IT marketplace. And would it come from another carrier? Who knows? But this one did. And we think we have at least a good jump start on this opportunity.
Excellent. George, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Eric Lanask with TMC here at Cloud Expo. Be sure to check out all of our Cloud Expo coverage in the TMC Video Newsroom.